Hey, I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Today I'm going to show you how to install a Tusk Stage 1 Upgrade Kit on a Polaris General 4 1000. The Stage 1 kit is all about the essential upgrades. So with this, these are high quality accessories that are going to help your new machine stand out and look good and fit your personal preferences. Now what the kit includes is the removable half windshield, you've got the alloy mirror kit with A-pillar mounts, and the profile aluminum roof. Now the install process is simple and straightforward, so let me show you how. Now we're ready to install the A-pillar mirror mounts. So to do that, we're going to take our 15mm socket and we're going to remove both of these bolts in the A-pillar. Now keep in mind that nut on the back side, we're going to reuse it. You don't want to lose it, so you can either use a magnet to hold onto it, or you can stuff a rag behind there so it doesn't drop down into the cab. Now for the mirror mounts, we have a right and a left side. We're going to start on the left side, or driver's side. And you'll know this is in the correct position if these two mounting holes, they're lower than the mirror mounting hole, and then this bracket should just wrap around and parallel the side of the cab. Now to install it, we have the two longer bolts that came with them. And again, we are reusing that nylock nut on the back side. And we'll put the top bolt in. Then we can use our 17mm socket to tighten these down. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. To install the mirrors, we need to remove this button head bolt from the mirror. Keep track of the star washer. We're going to use a 5mm Allen for this bolt. Install that mounting bolt through the inside. We've got the star washer, then screw it into the mirror. We're going to make our adjustments and tighten it down. So we have the passenger side mirror installed. You'll notice the orientation of the Tusk logo is in the same way for both mirrors. So we need to flip this bar over. We're going to use a 3/16 inch Allen to do that. Just loosen it up, level it out, and snug it down. And then we can install this mirror on the other side in the same way. To prep our half windshield, we've got a blanket laid out that we don't scratch this. I'm wearing rubber gloves to keep my fingerprints off. And then we're just going to remove the protective film from both sides. So the next thing we need to do is apply the D-shaped trim to this. Now keep in mind that this side we have facing us, this is going to go towards the inside of the cab. So that bend that's facing down right now, that's going to go away from the machine. So for the D-shaped trim, we'll remove the adhesive backing. We'll stick this across the bottom. We're starting at the corner of that little cutout. And we're going to end up with some extra. We're just going to trim that off with some scissors. Next we have the foam tape, and it's going to go just on the outside of this cutout, all the way from that bend clear to that little notch. So we'll cut that to length. And we'll do that same step on the other side. And we can take this over to the machine. Now we can set our half windshield in place. Then we can install the Velcro clamps. To do that, we're just going to wrap the strap around the back side. We're going to go through the slot in the windshield. We've got that bar on the clamp, we're going to hook this around that. Set the clamp into the slot, and then we can pull this tight and make adjustments. We'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So right here we have our roof. We need to get this ready before we install it on the machine. Now with this, we're working on the back section first, and to raise this up, you can use some of those foam blocks that came with the packaging for your roof. Now what we need to do with it is right on top, all the way across these holes in the front of this rear section, we're going to install the thinner foam tape all the way across there, and then just cut it to length. Now we're going to take a pick and poke a hole through each of the mounting locations where a bolt's going to mount the front section to the rear. Next, we're going to set the front section on top of the rear section, and we're going to attach the two together using the M6 by 16 millimeter button head bolts with the M6 flange nuts on the bottom side. Once you have all the hardware loosely installed, you can go ahead and tighten them down the rest of the way. Now over at the machine, we are working on a deluxe model, so that means it comes with additional features like some speakers and a GPS unit. We've got some cables hanging down. You can just ignore that stuff. For your standard models and this Tusk kit, the process we're going to show you is going to be exactly the same. Now before we set the roof into place, we need to prep the machine. So on the A-pillar on the passenger side, in this upper corner gusset, we've got a stock barrel nut that we need to remove. After that, we can install the supplied barrel nut that came in our kit in the same location. Then we can do the same thing for the other side. The next step is to apply this 1/4 inch foam tape, or the thicker foam tape of the two that come in the kit, to the perimeter of the top of your roll cage. Next, we need to prep the brackets that came with our kit. So we've got the thinner foam tape to do that, and we're going to start with the outer mid brackets. There's 2 of them. So for these brackets, we're going to apply 2 foam strips, 1 on each side of the slotted hole. Then for the mid inner brackets, again, there's 2 of them, and we're just going to go on this outside edge. Now for the 6 remaining mounting brackets, we're just going to put a foam strip on the tab right here. Next, we're at the upper section of the driver's side roll cage, right at that crossbar. You'll notice that there's 4 bolts sticking in to the inside of that roll cage. The 2 front bolts, we're going to attach the outer mid bracket to that. We'll set it in place. We're not removing the existing nuts. We're leaving those in, and then we're taking 2 of the supplied nuts that came in our kit, and we're going to loosely install those onto those bolts for now. And we can do the same thing for the passenger side. Next, we're going to install these roll cage clamps. So you'll notice this flat section, that's going to face towards the rear of the machine when we have this installed. We're going to use a 5mm Allen to take the clamp apart. We're going to use the rubber strip and install this around about a foot from the outside of the roll cage. And just so you guys know, we want to leave this loose enough that we can still move it around and make some adjustments to it. So on that flat section, we're going to use the 5mm Allen again. We're going to remove that bolt and washer. Then we can use that to attach the mid inner bracket. So with this bracket, the orientation is going to be so this hook comes around towards the front of the machine. And again, that's just left loose. We'll go do the same thing on the other side, and then we need to measure 20 inches from clamp to clamp, and that's going to be pretty close to where they need to be. With the brackets in place, you'll want to have a friend help you grab the roof and set it on top of the roll cage. With the roof in place, we've lined it up with the stock visor, and now we need to install all the hardware. And just keep in mind, as we install the hardware, we're just going to loosely install it and make our final adjustments before we tighten it down. So with that, we're going to start with hardware group A. That's going to be your M6 by 40mm bolt. We've already got our washer on it, and then we'll take one of these spacers. The spacer is going to go between the stock visor and the roof, and then we're just going down into that barrel nut that we installed on the machine. Moving on to hardware group B, that's going to be through these two front holes in the middle, and that's your M6 by 20mm bolt. We already have the flat washer installed onto it. Go through the roof, and then we've got the flange nut on the inside. For hardware group C, we've got the M6 by 25mm bolts. You got the washer that's going to go on top of the roof. We'll stick that through the top, then we're going to go through the brackets on these roll cage mounts, and then we've got the flange nut on the inside. And this is where we left everything loose so we can make our adjustments as we go. Then we'll do the same thing for the other roll cage bracket. Then hardware group C will also go through the outer mid brackets as well. Next we have hardware group D. That's going to go in the remaining mounting locations. So the threaded insert is going to be facing up, and then we have the foam tape we installed on these that's going to go against the roll cage and complement that angle on there. So we're going to go from the inside with these, set that in place, and then we've got our M6 by 25mm bolt and our flat washer that are going to go through the top. We're just using our 4mm Allen to snug this up. With the hardware loosely installed, we can make our adjustments with the roof from side to side and front to back to get the best fitment, and then go through and tighten down all of the hardware. And to do that, we're going to use a 4mm Allen. We've got a 10mm combo wrench and a 15mm socket. And that's how simple it is to install the Tusk Stage 1 Upgrade Kit on your Polaris General 1000. If you have any questions about the install process, leave those down in the comments below. And if you need to pick one of these up, you can find them on our website. We offer free shipping for orders over $75, so this qualifies for that. And if you want to see more helpful content, subscribe to our channel. I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Thanks for watching.